Almighty God, and laws that will be just and that will promote the interests of the people. Almagtige God, ons bid dat U gedurende ons vergaderings ons die nodige wysheid sal gee en ons motiewe suiwer sal hou en dat U ons sal help om al ons tekortkominge te oorkom en al ons besluite aan U op te dra. Sikalela ilezwe letu nabantu balo. Umisile ukulunga kwepondo letu. Nkosi sikalela I Afrika, Kina abantwana bayo, kokelo inkokeli zayo, yaniki ukolo I Afrika. All this we beg in your holy name. Amen. Please be seated. Good morning, honourable members. Before we proceed, I would like to remind members about some of the logistical arrangements. As has been our practice to date, honourable members will participate in the sitting of the House, both from here in the chamber with the presiding officer and table staff, and via Microsoft Teams. Our standing rules have accordingly been amended to accommodate such hybrid sittings of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. Honourable members experiencing challenges in connecting to the sitting are requested to contact the WCPP ICT colleagues who will assist to resolve their connectivity challenges. The quorum requirements for the sitting of the House are provided for in the Constitution and the standing rules. Unless there is an indication of unanimous concurrence, voting will be confined to members present in the House and on the hybrid system who are entitled to cast their votes as per the ATC issued on the 11th of August 2020. Members present in the chamber and via Microsoft Teams have all the privileges and immunities imparted by law. Members who are considered out of order by the presiding officer will have their microphones muted and called to order. The Sergeant at Arms have recorded members' attendance. Honourable members, in instances where these directives do not cover a particular eventuality, the standing rules will apply. In instances where the rules cannot be applied, the ruling by the presiding officer is final. Members, all microphones have been muted, and however, for those honourable members participating in the sitting of the House via Microsoft Teams, you are requested to use the raise hand functionality of the system when you desire to raise a point of order, and I will recognise you. When an honourable member in the chamber wishes to raise a point of order, such an honourable member may address the presiding officer as expected, but must mute their microphones when they have completed speaking. Honourable members are requested to please ensure that the microphones are unmuted when the presiding officer recognises them, and when they are done speaking, to please mute their microphones. Honourable members participating in the sitting of the House via Microsoft Teams are requested not to sign into Microsoft Teams on more than one device unless the second device is utilised with earphones for language translation services. The media have also been granted access to this sitting as guests of the WCPP. However, members of the media and members of the public may not use the chat room or speak or activate their cameras while the sitting is in progress. For the sitting honourable members, language translation services are available in the chamber as usual and on the Microsoft Teams via the respective channels. Honourable members participating in the sitting of the House must please access the language translation services via a second device, for example, your cell phone, and if you have earphones available, please use them for language translation services. Honourable members, please be reminded that no interjections are permitted during these hybrid sessions, and to this end, I draw the attention to honourable members of Rule 40 of the Standing Rules. Honourable members, I now recognise the Chief Whip for the motion in your name.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Speaker, notwithstanding the provisions of Rule 18, I move that the hours of the sittings of today, Monday the 27th of March, Tuesday the 28th of March, and Wednesday the 29th of March 2023 shall be 10 o'clock until adjournment. I so move, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. Honourable members, are there any objections to the motion being moved? No objections. Agreed to. Honourable members, before I allow the Secretary to read the first order of the day, I would like to make a ruling of the sitting of the 9th of March, if you allow me to do so. And herewith my ruling. During the sitting of the 9th of March 2023, the Honourable Marais, in a member's statement, made utterances which led to several interjections by members across the floor. A point of order was raised by the Chief Whip of the official opposition as follows, and I quote, "I really do not take kind in whatever the altercation was to refer to black people in particular as foreigners is an insult of the highest order, and I want you to rule on this matter," close quote. Since I could not clearly hear the interjections, the context in which they were made, and who were making them, I informed the House that I will come back with a ruling on the matter once I have consulted Hansard. Because the audio recording had not been transcribed at that stage, I listened to the audio recording but could still not, with any certainty, establish who uttered those alleged offensive words. I was then duty-bound to inform the House that since serious allegations were made against the Honourable Marais, I would consult the transcribed audio when available and make a final ruling on the matter. Honourable Members, I do not make an apology for doing so, and I will not be strong-armed from either side of this House to take action and to be forced to rule on any matter before I have satisfied myself of the prevailing facts and circumstances. I would also like to inform the House that I have a responsibility as the Speaker and Chief Presiding Officer of this House to ensure that the business of the House is transacted as the Constitution requires from us, a responsibility I take very seriously and have committed to adhere to in my acceptance speech on my election as Speaker. I have now had the opportunity to peruse the transcribed extracts of the proceedings of the 9th of March 2023, and I wish to rule as follows. In his prepared member statement, the Honourable Marais articulated and contextualized from his perspective and that of the party that he belongs to, I presume, what is happening in the province as far as certain challenges facing minorities are concerned. As Speaker and as the custodian of free speech and the right of free expression in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, I find no fault with the context, but with that in the context of giving the member the right of free speech. However, when the Honourable Marais in an interjection declares that, and I quote, "You are foreigners," close quote, when responding to honourable members of the Provincial Parliament representing the African National Congress, and albeit what could be argued to be under provocation, repeats this statement, it becomes problematic and cannot be tolerated. I regard the reference to South Africans of a particular ethnic group as foreigners in their own country as highly offensive, unparliamentary, and in bad taste. This kind of stereotyping of people will not be tolerated under my watch and exceeds the boundaries of free speech in no small measure. I therefore call on the Honourable Marais to withdraw the words, I quote, "You are foreigners," close quote, and apologize to the House for making those utterances. I so rule. Honourable Marais, I recognize you.
Speaker, in the interest of free speech, I ask to address you on this matter to give better perspective. Everything that is flung at me,
Honourable Marais,
you are not privy to.
Honourable Marais, I have ruled. If you have an issue with my ruling, there's other mechanisms to do so. I have ruled I'm not going to allow any engagement on the ruling. Honourable Marais, I asked you to withdraw those statements. Honourable Side, please. I'm addressing the Honourable Marais.
I'm not withdrawing. I'm stating a historic fact. I can prove it by various historians that says that in the Beli, the Zulus, the Xhosas are not indigenous to the Cape.
Honourable Marais,
yes.
I have ruled. You leave me with no other option but to ask you to leave the chamber.
I will leave it with joy.
Thank you very much.
Because
Thank you very much.
You will never be respected.
Honorable
member,
member, I have asked you to withdraw from the chamber.
Walk with my head
Thank you
up
very
high.
much. Thank you very much, members. Honorable member. Honorable member. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable Marais. Can you please... Thank you. Honorable Syed, is that a point of order? Is it on the ruling? Because I'm not going to entertain anything on the ruling.
It's based on...
Okay, I'm not going to entertain that. I will deal with that in a different platform because I think it's clear what just happened. So I don't need any guidance from the House on further action. Can you please stand when you address me?
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much, firstly, for the ruling. I think it was it's much welcome. We cannot have the House descending into chaos because of utter racism. But Chair, just to address you on the ruling, I think the ruling is fine, and he has now withdrawn from the House. But given the resistance, I also wish to therefore move, and it's the matter of a serious nature, that Member Marais be asked to withdraw from the parliamentary precinct for the day. That's what I want to ask. In terms of Rule 46.2, I so move, yes. Which also means that in terms of salary also for the day that be suspended.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chief Whip of the Opposition. I think the procedure to do that is not correct. And for that reason, the Honourable Member has already left the chamber, and therefore I will not grant that request. Honourable Members, can we now move on to the first order of the day? I see the Secretary.
Consideration of principles of the Western Cape Appropriation Bill B2 2023.
Thank you very much. I now see the Honourable Minister, Minister Wenger.
Good morning, Speaker, Honourable Premier and Cabinet Ministers, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Members of the Provincial Parliament and people of the Western Cape. On the 16th of February of this year, in his State of the Province address, Premier Alan Winde set out a bold vision to deliver a better future for the people of the Western Cape. And on the 14th of March of this year, I set out how we will fund this plan of action over the next 3 years, in pursuit of realising a future full of hope in the province. And while we do face strong headwinds, we remain determined to take the required action to continue on our path from recovery to growth. This determination springs from the many reasons we have to have hope in the Western Cape. From the fantastic recovery of the tourism sector, which in many cases has now surpassed pre-pandemic levels, to the exceptional performance of employment levels in the fourth quarter of 2022, in which the Western Cape created nearly 99% of the net employment gains in South Africa, and to the proving nearly one third of all building plans in the entire country. We have seen the rewards of our evidence-based approach to strategic decisions and the grit and courage of the people of this province. And we will continue to push on and push forward because we have more work to do to lift people out of poverty, to increase opportunities for our residents, and to deliver a better future. Mr. Speaker, to achieve our goal, we will allocate a total of 242.31 billion rand over the 3-year medium-term expenditure framework in the Western Cape, of which 1.1 billion has been set aside to ramp up our energy security and decrease our reliance on Eskom. 39.82 billion rand has been allocated to boost economic growth and create opportunities for our citizens. 4.76 billion rand has been allocated to make sure citizens are safe in their communities, and 170.91 billion rand has been allocated for our citizens' well-being, including on key services such as education and healthcare. While there has been a slight reprieve of late, the single biggest threat we face right now, which compromises our collective future, is the missing in action stable supply of electricity upon which all else rests. And so to take action and ramp up the Western Cape's energy security and decrease our reliance on Eskom, an additional 1.1 billion has been set aside over the MTEF. This includes 598.47 million to reduce the impact of load shedding, to boost the green economy, to set up a strong pipeline of green energy projects, scale up support to municipalities to help them get more power into the grid, and to identify critical transmission infrastructure upgrades. A further 501.52 million rand is earmarked for energy projects in the pipeline and is a critical element of the province's ability to respond in an agile and flexible way. We have a four-pronged approach to increasing our energy resilience as contained in the Western Cape's Energy Resilience Programme, highlights of which include the Western Cape Integrated Resource Plan, Demand-Side Management Plan, New Energy Generation Programme, and the Network Development Plan. As part of our whole-of-government approach to tackling this challenge, our energy funding includes over the MTEF 95.9 million for the Department of the Premier, which will be leading, coordinating, and driving strategic components of the Energy Resilience Programme. 148.7 million. Sorry, Speaker. May I continue?
Yes, you may.
Yeah. 148.7 million rand for the new Department of Infrastructure to drive municipal independent power producer procurement, which also includes the project preparation facility, grid infrastructure development work, and exploring gas power. 60 million rand for Westgrow and Freeport Saldanha to enable green hydrogen development in the Western Cape. 55.5 million for the Department of Economic Development and Tourism to support SMMEs to implement alternative energy supply systems, and 57.5 million for the Department of Local Government to help municipalities pilot renewable energy solutions, which will include the provision of specialists to find the best fit renewable energy options, as well as the creation of municipal energy master plans. And we will do so with transparency and accountability during this state of disaster by publishing our best practice procurement disclosure report on energy procurement, just like we did during the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaker, we have a clear vision for the future as contained in our new economic growth strategy, Growth for Jobs, which is near finalization. This strategy envisages a jobs-rich, inclusive, sustainable, and resilient provincial economy that is growing at between 4 and 6% per year in real terms by 2035. Underpinning this growth is the understanding that it is the private sector that creates jobs and that government's role is to enable its success. Over the next 3 years, this budget of action will spend 39.82 billion rand to boost economic growth and to create opportunities for citizens, including an additional 709 million rand for the Growth for Jobs priority over the MTEF. In addition, the Western Cape government will spend 32.57 billion rand on infrastructure over the 23 MTEF, which includes funding to deliver and maintain transport infrastructure, to provide housing opportunities, as well as boost education and health infrastructure. This will be the first time that our expenditure on infrastructure crosses over into 10 billion rand per financial year. The new Department of Mobility will spend 9.11 billion rand over the next 3 years to support access to affordable transport, to continue efforts to keep roads safe, and develop and implement an integrated, enhanced, and efficient transport hub system, which will include the delivery of crime-fighting technology and systems to support the highway patrol. As South Africans, every man, woman, and child shares a common fear of becoming a victim of crime. For too many, this fear may have already been realized. Too many lives have been cut short, and far too many deal daily with the scars caused by crime and violence. Let me say this again, it should not be this way. And so to tackle crime holistically over the next 3 years, this budget of action will spend 4.76 billion to make sure citizens are safe in their communities, including an additional 396 million rand, which has been added to this important priority over the MTEF. This includes 2.26 billion to make sure our provincial policing functions have the funding they need to be effective, to work with and build up community-based safety partnerships, and to continue critical oversight of the SAPs. Of this amount, 1.05 billion is allocated to continue the Law Enforcement Advancement Plan, or LEAP, keeping more than 1,200 boots on the ground in hotspot areas so we can continue to make progress in reducing crime. To address the root causes of crime, this budget will spend over the MTEF 987.38 million rand on crime prevention and support within the Department of Social Development, specifically to support children at risk and to help set them on a better path, and 49.32 million on supporting the work of the new data-led violence prevention unit in the Department of Health and Wellness. Speaker, to build a strong and resilient society where citizens have the skills that they need to succeed, access to holistic healthcare, including mental health support, and where every woman, man, and child can meet their basic nutritional needs to live full and healthy lives, the Western Cape prioritizes the well-being of our citizens as the foundation upon which our success relies. Over the next 3 years, the budget of action will spend 170.91 billion rand, including an extra 966.85 million rand over the MTEF on citizens' well-being, including on key services such as education and healthcare. This includes spending an additional 61 million rand in 23-24, 63.89 million in 24-25, and 67.25 million in 25-26 on the school feeding program to provide a balanced and nutritionally rich meal to 485,000 learners daily. Building on the highly successful rapid school build by adding 350 million in the 23-24 financial year to increase school spaces. 238.36 million over the MTEF to fund victim support programs, which includes an additional 91.92 million rand to expand GBV services such as victim empowerment programs, shelters for victims of gender-based violence, and psychosocial support services. 193.5 million over the MTEF to maintain food relief efforts so that we can continue to assist those who need it. An additional 239.4 million rand to strengthen mental health services, including the provision of a coordinated and targeted approach to ensure support to the most vulnerable and those at risk. And an additional 92.35 million rand over the MTEF to support and improve the outcomes of the TB response plan, ensuring detection, proper care, support to continue treatment, as well as prevention interventions. Speaker, with this budget of action, we choose to push on, to roll up our sleeves and to work for a future that we want for our children. I look forward to a robust and constructive debate in this House and to hearing the contributions from my colleagues as well as the opposition on the actions we have taken and are taking to build a better future. Because it's only through action, through the fierce urgency of now, that we can deliver change and a future full of hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I now see Honourable Dugmore.
Mr. Speaker, Honourable Premier, members of the House, during his address on Human Rights Day last week, President Ramaphosa said the following, and I quote, "One of the defining features of the Bill of Rights contained in our Constitution is the inclusion of socio-economic rights. Our Constitution also says that everyone has the right to housing, healthcare, food, water, social security, and education, and further, that the state must take reasonable measures within its available resources to achieve the progressive realization of each of those rights." It was interesting, Speaker, that this province held no Human Rights Day event, and also that the province never focuses on these socio-economic rights, which are central to any budget. We're debating then today available resources, which the President alluded to. Today we discuss once again whether this DA-led provincial administration is making the correct choices from the limited available resources at their disposal. And it is about choices. For instance, in Barrydale, the DA made a choice to back the mayor in his battle against 3 black DA councillors. Helen Ziller took the side of the mayor and actually didn't listen to the views of others. And the choice that the DA made contributed to the rejection.
Honourable Dugmore, please take your seat. Honourable Murray, is that a point of order?
Yes, thank you, Speaker. That is a point of order.
What's your
The
order?
member is incorrect in his statement, and I can confirm that in my Western Cape Provincial Government, Western Cape Provincial Parliament capacity
What's your
last week
point-
on Human
what-
Rights Day,
Honourable Murray.
an event was held.
Honourable Murray, what is your point of order?
He's misleading the House.
Honourable Murray, that's not a point of order. Honourable Dugmore, please continue.
Thank you. So the choice that the DA made there might have seemed a simple political choice, but it was also about the choice which the African and coloured councillors of the DA in Swellendam were making about how resources should be utilised, whereas the white DA mayor had a particular perspective similar to this MEC about where to direct and spend resources and not deal with the real issues on the ground. And that's why the DA is a sinking ship. It's divided. I want to add today that budgets are also about human rights. We can either choose to allocate resources to those members from our society who continue to suffer and deny them their human rights because of the legacy of apartheid, or we can continue to provide for those who have had a privileged past, like the Swellendam mayor. The ANC's view on this issue is that this provincial government has not been making the correct choices and have not done so for some time in how they spend the little resources that they have at their disposal for the benefit of those human rights just mentioned. One example, Speaker, of poor choices is the Tafelberg High School matter. There's only one reason why the DA opposes the Tafelberg site being transformed into a social housing project, despite the fact that the department of this provincial government proposed that Tafelberg gets used for social housing. And that reason clearly is to preserve apartheid spatial planning and the beneficiaries of apartheid. They actually want to deny domestic workers who've been saving up for years in Sea Point to have access to that particular site. MECs in this government complain about too little funding and shrinking budgets, yet it's scandalous that this provincial government spent nearly 5.5 million rand on legal fees for Tafelberg, which was completely unnecessary. Once again, Helen Ziller and the Honourable Premier are at the centre of refusing to accept the advice of their own department and use that, and took us on a 5 million wasted journey. What could that 5 million have been used for? Actually, housing is a human right. That 5.5 million could have been better used to fight crime, to improve school buildings, to fund the Khayelitsha District Hospital, which our members have been raising, because being safe, especially safe in a school building and having access to healthcare, are human rights. If the 5.5 million spent on Tafelberg is not enough, what about the frivolous and politically directed WCD cases against certain principals in our province, including Mr. Newman and many others, that they specifically want to target and then waste all this money? So a total expenditure on legal and other fees to deny human rights of over 8 million rands. That is over 8 million rands and still counting, not available to community police fora. And this government should hang its head in shame that contracts for housing in this province and in the city are being handed to the relatives of known gangsters who are killing people on site because they don't. Reagan Allen, he seems to be missing in action this year. Premier, you've said nothing about this. You know what's going on. Besides the corruption in the City of Housing Maintenance Department, you know that gangs have actually taken over, and yet you are quiet about this. It's shocking. Budgets are about choices, but they're also about meeting people's human rights. Evidently, the
Honourable
government
Dugmore, can I
fails.
please ask you to conclude
I
your
will
last
conclude
sentence? Your time has
by saying
expired.
that coloured African and Indian people are landless in this province. They lack housing. Some of them go to bed hungry. And that is why this provincial
Honourable
government
Dugmore.
start making
Please
the
take your
correct
seat.
choices.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Dugmore. I now see the Honourable Fry.
Honourable Speaker, Premier, Cabinet members and honourable members of this House. Beacons are wonderful things. In ancient times and in the not so distant past, they were essential to life. Beacons provide light in the darkness, direction when there is none, and most of all, beacons provide a hope for a better future. In our province, this government is a beacon of hope. Hope that is desperately needed. But there are questions that we need to ask ourselves. Firstly, why is this hope needed? Speaker, the answer to that is simple. Our nation is fast becoming a failed state. The president has created yet another ministry, that of electricity, when there are two other ministries, namely mineral resources and energy and public enterprises, under which the current crisis of lowering blackout should have been resolved 15 years ago when they first arose. Our unemployment rate is spiraling out of control, which is a concrete case of a failing national government. An increasing number of our citizens are living in despair, striving to obtain employment, and thus experiencing the indignity of living below the poverty line. Furthermore, crime is increasing at a frightening rate as up to 75 people are murdered in our nation every day. Our nation desperately needs hope. What then is this beacon of hope? Honourable Speaker, this hope lies in the Provincial Strategic Implementation Plan of the Western Cape. Unlike the plans of the national government, this implementation plan has specific outcomes supported by a clearly defined budget and actual targets governed by realistic timeframes. This plan will support a number of initiatives across the provincial government, which culminates in addressing the key focus areas of energy, safety, jobs, and well-being. The response to the energy crisis is clear. The Energy Resilience Plan is a whole-of-government approach that will see 1.1 billion rand over 3 years spread across departments to mitigate the effects of the rolling blackouts in both households as well as the economy at large. One of the most notable line items is the 85 million that the Department of the Premier will spend in its financial year to reduce the impact of blackouts, support project preparation, grid generation and financing planning, and the capacity to implement the plan. 500 million is reserved for the increasingly realistic scenario of a total grid collapse. A final part of what this beacon of hope is the plan to increase access to the internet for our citizens. New Cape access centers are planned, including an e-mobile e-center. More money has been allocated to the broadband initiative and an increase in funding to the Center for E-Innovation. The Standing Committee on the Premier and Constitutional Matters has welcomed this with delight. Honourable Speaker, so how will this beacon of hope be lit? To answer this question, let's first turn to the Provincial Strategic Implementation Plan. 95 million has been allocated to the Energy Resilience Plan, and of that, 60 million is allocated to emergency blackout pacts. These pacts will provide energy to the poorest of the poor so that the essentials of heating, lighting, and charging can still be maintained while the power has been cut. Other highlights of the Energy Resilience Plan within the department would be the 9.7 million for demand-side management, 3.3 million for for municipal pool buying, and 7.5 million for estimating the energy demand in the Western Cape, and thus developing an integrated resource plan. Honourable Speaker, when looking at e-innovation, 1.378 billion rand has been allocated to this vital program, which is an increase of about 12% on the current financial year. Of this, 555 million is allocated to the broadband project, and there's also an increase in funding to expand the Cape access centres, both in the Cape Metro as well as the rural areas, including the establishment of a mobile access centre to service these communities. As a last point of innovation, the department will be building a new digital experience platform, as well as strengthening cybersecurity across the Western Cape government. Honourable Speaker, beacons are wonderful things. They provide light in darkness, direction where there is none, and most of all, beacons provide hope for a better future. As I've already stated, the Western Cape government is doing everything in its power to give that beacon of hope for all of its residents in the light of this budget. Now is the time to light that beacon and make it shine. The DA supports this budget. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Fry. Thank you, members. I now see Honourable Kasim.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the EFF cannot support the Appropriation Bill and this budget as it does not speak to the needs of the people in this province. Speaker, at some stage, we must ask ourselves the question as to whether the money that we spend in this province, does it serve and how does it serve the needs of the people in this province? And more so the budget, how has the ordinary man in the street ever benefited from it? It is evident that over and over again under this DA-led government, when it comes to budgets, it does not include or rather never prioritize the most critical challenges and the needs of the people in this province, like that of housing, jobs, more schools in poor communities, and even proper intervention programs for areas affected by crime. There are really lots of unnecessary items on this budget that can be diverted to address real challenges faced by our people in the Western Cape. But when we look at the state of this province, nothing seems to change when it comes to those in need. And the only changes that we'll find are that of the pockets of our colonizers, hence always finding corruption, especially when it comes to housing projects. We will even find things in this budget like unnecessary subscription fee being paid to our colonizers via the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, just to sit around the same table as them. Subscription fees paid here is fruitless and wasteful budgeting and should be diverted to take care of the needs of our people, once again housing, jobs, among others. And to put on the record, the EFF is not in support of SA being a member of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, because we cannot sit around the same table with our colonizers who subjected us to all forms of oppression without so much an apology, let alone reparation for all the damage they have done to this country as well as the suffering we endured. We are really disgusted and opposed to this continuous foolishness by the foolish DA-led government in the Western Cape who feel the need to spend money on it. Money being spent here is misappropriation of funds, and it can only be this pretentious European-style DA-led government that is totally out of touch with the needs of the people in the province. If this DA aspire to be European, then they should move there, but leave the rest of us out of it so that they can deal with the real issues of this province. There is nothing to celebrate when it comes to crime. Crime in the province. Crime is increasing in our communities, but there are always excuses as to why there's no resources or proper intervention programs for our communities affected by crime. It cannot be that we have daily shortage of police or law enforcement services in such areas where drug and gangsterism are in norm, and it cannot be that there is not much allocated in this budget for proper intervention programs, as well as deployment of more police and law enforcement to tackle such issues in such
order, members.
Yet we see the province, as usual, going all out with immediate deployment of thousands of police, like on Monday the 20th, when poor black people took to the streets to peacefully protest for basic human rights that this province failed to address. And more so, instead of utilizing these police and to arrest drug lords and gangsters, this DA-led city and province was celebrating the arrest of thousands of Thais leading up to the 20th of March, because they were hoping for a violent protest, instead of focusing and utilizing that same intervention effort daily within gang-infested communities where our people are held hostage. But the solution to crime is not only bringing proper intervention programs and the deployment of more police, among others, but also by eradicating inequality. The government makes the same mistake that the national government makes by thinking that policing can solve crime.
Honourable Kassim, can I please ask you to conclude?
The way to reduce crime is to eradicate inequality. So the EFF is not in support of the government.
Thank you very much. Please take your seat. Thank you very much, honourable members. Members, can I please ask that while I understand that this is a political debate, that you please respect the speaker on the floor and allow everyone an opportunity to address the House. I now see Honourable Saleko.
Good morning, Somlomo Goeiemorgen. Somlomo, what I've learned in my short life experience is that there is one thing, or there is two people that is very difficult to deal with. It's a jealous girlfriend and a jealous boyfriend, especially if they are exes. So you cannot expect anything good that will come from your ex, because they are so jealous. They thought you are not going to progress in life, and you are progressing. So I hope when the exes speak today, that we are not going to take it to heart, and then we are going to focus on the business of the day.
Honourable Saleko, can I please ask Honourable Saleko, Honourable Syed, is there a point of order? Please take, honourable members, there's a member on the floor.
Chair, on a point of order, I think that's quite sexist. The member is generalizing about the way in which exes of particular genders interact.
Honourable members, please, can I please ask you to calm down? That is not a point of order. Honourable Salego, can I please remind you of the topic of the debate? And while I understand that this is a political debate, can you please stick to the topic at hand? Honourable members, order members,
Divaret Max here, Agbara Speaker.
Honourable Salego, please address me.
Agbara Speaker, Premier, Cabinet Leader, and honourable members of the House. Over a week ago, Minister Wenger delivered the provincial government's budget, a budget aimed at restoring hope for the Western Cape communities, entrenching the urgency of this government's commitments to its residents, and showing the provincial government's care for our most disadvantaged communities through the prioritization of infrastructure development across the Western Cape. Honourable Speaker, I rise confidently in support of Vote 10 infrastructure. The Western Cape Department of Infrastructure has been allocated 9.8 billion of the provincial budget for the upcoming financial year 23-24. This allocation demonstrates that the Western Cape government has not only spoken about the need for urgent service delivery, but is also putting it into action in every way possible. Honourable members, I commend the Western Cape government for establishing the new infrastructure department. This new department will not only create employment through the Western Cape, but it will also allow the government to prioritize infrastructure-related projects. It will assist the provincial government to plan infrastructure projects through government and private sector contribution more effectively. Honourable Speaker, before we look at the future, we must acknowledge the achievements of the Department of Human Settlements throughout the current financial year. To address the country's rising unemployment rate, particularly among the young youth, the department was on track towards training young people in the construction industry, equipping them with essential skills for future employment in the field. Many locals in various communities of the Western Cape can attest to the job opportunities they were given as a result of Human Settlements housing projects. Noted that even though some housing projects were facing extortion, the department proactively contributed safety precautions within its Human Settlements projects. In the current financial year, the Informal Settlements Upgrading Partnership Grant was implemented.
Honourable Salego, please take your seat. Honourable Chief Whip, is there a point of order?
Yes, thank you, Speaker. Speaker, in terms of the rules, it's very clear in terms of conversing aloud. Can you kindly rule, because members Nkondlo and Maran just keeps on addressing the member across the floor.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. I'm listening very carefully. Honourable members, listening very carefully. Can I please caution all members that when there's a member on the floor to please allow that member. But Honourable Chief Whip, I'm not going to rule on that point of order. Honourable Saleko, can you please continue? Honourable members, please, there's a member on the floor. Please respect the member on the floor. Honourable Saleko, please continue.
While this has been a success, the department has faced numerous challenges, including land invasions, complex community dynamics, and incidents of extortion. The new Department of Infrastructure continued to implement the Help Me Buy a Home program, which gives individuals earning between 3,501 to 22,000 more flexibility on their route to home ownership. Many residents, especially young professionals, can speak to how this program has impacted their lives, particularly in the context of our country's economy, where property ownership is becoming increasingly expensive and difficult to achieve. The department will also continue its deferred ownership pilot project, in which beneficiaries can rent units for up to 3 years before having the chance to purchase the units. Honourable Speaker, Transport Infrastructure Programme 3 has received 46% of the total infrastructure budget. This highlights the Western Cape's government's continued efforts to guarantee that roads in our province are maintained while jobs are created and young people are trained and upskilled. The budget furthermore reveals that accredited learnership training opportunities will be provided to 170 unemployed youths from across the Western Cape. 18 boiler making apprentices will be supported, 25 electrical and 25 plumbing learners will be placed on a 2-year apprenticeship program. These fall under the Expanded Public Works Program, EPWP, which is aimed at ensuring the achievement of the EPWP work opportunities target of 67,882. The Standing Committee on Infrastructure will work hard to perform oversight on the implementation of this project. Speaker, despite the department's tireless efforts to ensure that Western Cape housing beneficiaries receive their homes on time and in good condition, the department has encountered significant challenges as a result of gangs that intimidate and extort contractors by demanding so-called protection money. Dozens of housing, schools, and other infrastructure development projects in the province have been halted as a result of extortionist gangs. Extortionists have had a detrimental impact on the dignity of tens of thousands of housing beneficiaries and school children. I am delighted to have witnessed some of the department's safety strategies for mitigating this matter. While the department is working tirelessly on keeping contractors protected, the absence of arrests by the South African Police Services
Honourable
is
Saleko,
concerning.
please conclude. Your time has expired.
Honourable Speaker, the DA supports this budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Saleko. Honourable members, please. Honourable order members. Honourable members, please allow the next speaker. Order members. Honourable August, I see you.
Speaker, I don't know if I'm speaking as the ex-boyfriend here. Honourable Speaker, the Western Cape Provincial Budget...
Order members, there's a member on the floor.
Honourable Speaker, the Western Cape Provincial Budget as tabled by the MEC Wenger has been, since 2019, a theoretical document with little to no real impact. Under MEC Mania, we've had a budget focusing on consolidation for maximum impact, a budget for you, a budget for hope, as well as a budget to push forward. Under MEC Wenger, the budget of action, a future full of hope, was tabled. What do they all have in common, you might ask? Let me answer. They string together words and phrases to get the people into thinking that this government works for them. Well, it really isn't. The DA-led Western Cape government has done everything in its power since Helen's reign to stop and oppose inner-city spatial transformation. We also see this as the main objective of Premier Winde. In addition, this government has been actively contributing towards the creation of informal settlements with its lack of urgency in building decent homes for the poor and the needy. DA-led municipalities across the Western Cape share the tale of two towns or cities, where one part enjoys uninterrupted services, green parks, working streetlights, and lush greens. And on the other side, you'll find war zones, sewage spills, inconsistent water supplies, and inhumane living conditions. This administration is so obsessed with the national government, its main objective deviates from prioritizing the needs and the challenge of its people, and this budget reconfirms and heralds that obsession. Instead of finding tangible solutions to ailing problems, it will in turn use taxpayers' money to fund its better than the ANC campaign. Speaker, this administration funneled hundreds of millions into safety and security in the city, but the CBD is now considered the robbery capital of South Africa. How does this make sense? Cape Town Central and Mitchells Plain police stations are first and second, respectively, on the top 30 police stations for 17 community contact crimes. Take note, these are areas enjoy a great deal of law enforcement presence. How functional is your safety plan, considering that the planning on spending 4.76 billion over the next 3 years on community safety? Please justify the provincial spend of 39.82 billion for economic growth, but you overlook the informal trade sector that has the potential to absorb unemployment, youth women and persons with disability. This government claims to follow the data, which is quite difficult to believe, seeing that the Deputy Speaker is going one way by hosting anti-vaxxers, and the Premier and the Department of Health runs in the total opposite direction. Therefore, I cannot support this budget.
Thank you, Honourable August. I now see the Honourable America.
Baie dankie, agbare Speaker. Agbare Speaker, lede van die huis en medeburgers van die Weskaap. Ons moet onthou dat vervoer nie net oor die beweging van punt A na punt B gaan nie. Dit gaan oor die verbindings tussen mense, die skepping van geleenthede en die vorming van die toekoms van ons provinsie. Daar is 3 noodsaaklike pilare van vervoer wat ons visie vir beter môre sal rig. Veiligheid, ekonomiese ontwikkeling en hoop. Veiligheid is nie onderhandelbaar meer, agbare Maran. Ons vervoerstelsel moet veilig wees vir al ons burgers. Deur die jare het ons tragiese ongelukke, onverdraagsaamheid, sinnelose geweld en 'n ongereguleerde taxibedryf gesien wat die lewens van ons mense in gevaar stel. Tragiese ongelukke met die vervoer van plaaswerkers bly ook 'n groot bekommernis te wees. Dit is dus ons verantwoordelikheid om hierdie probleme aan te spreek. Pad- en verkeersregulasies te eerbiedig, te handhaaf en veilige en betroubare vervoeropsies vir die inwoners van die Weskaap te bied. Ons moet verseker dat ons paaie, spoorweë en hawens veilig en toeganklik is vir almal, veral die mees kwesbares. Alhoewel dit 'n uitdaging vir die meeste in ons land is, word daar sigbare pogings in die Weskaap gedoen om die kwessies aan te spreek. Agbare Speaker, ekonomiese ontwikkeling is die ruggraat van ons provinsie se vooruitgang. Ons kan dit nie bekostig om die rol van vervoer in die dryf van ekonomiese groei en werkskepping te ignoreer of te onderskat nie. Ons vervoerstelsel moet doeltreffend wees, bekostigbaar en goed gekoppel wees om die volle potensiaal van ons ekonomie te ontsluit. So ook moet ons vervoerinfrastruktuur die vermoë hê om die groeiende behoeftes van 'n groeiende bevolking en die ekonomie te ondersteun. Werkskepping bly 'n tergende uitdaging. Ons onvermoë om 'n vaartbeleide netwerk van vervoerinfrastruktuur en die investering daarvan bly 'n prioriteit vir ons regering. Hierdie begroting is inderdaad tekening daarvan. Daarom is die integrasie van verskeie vervoermodi, soos busse, treine en taksies, is in hierdie verband krities. Dit sal nie net verkeersopeenhopings verminder nie, maar ook nuwe besigheidsgeleenthede skep en die mobiliteit van ons burgers te verbeter. Agbare Speaker, hoop is wat ons voortdryf, selfs in die gesig van ons uitdagings. Vervoer gaan nie net oor die fisieke beweging van mense en goedere nie. Dit gaan oor die hoop op 'n beter lewe, 'n beter toekoms en 'n beter wêreld. Vervoer verbind mense, kulture en idees en hoop ons gesamentlike verbintenis. Ons moet hierdie krag van vervoer omhels, om hoop te inspireer en 'n helderder toekoms vir al ons burgers te bou. Ek is verheug om hierdie huis mee te deel dat die Kaapstadse sentrale treinlyn gedeeltelik onlangs geopen het. Ons volgehoue druk op die nasionale regering het verseker dat hierdie ekonomiese slaghaar, wat 'n belangrike mylpaal is vir in ons reis na 'n beter vervoerstelsel, uiteindelik die lig gesien het. Hierdie lyn is nie net 'n treinspoor nie. Dit is 'n lewenslyn vir baie burgers wat daarop staat maak om na hul werk, studie, ontspanning en geliefdes te pendel. Ek is derhalwe jammer dat die minister op Dinsdag nou, môre, 'n reis op hierdie trein sou onderneem het om die potensiaal eerstehands te ervaar. Ongelukkig moet dit afgestel word. Ek hoop dit sal spoedig gebeur. Honorable Speaker, members of the House and fellow citizens, let us continue to work together to make our transport system safer, more efficient and more hopeful. Let us embrace the power of transport to drive economic development, create new opportunities and shape a better future for our province. As we move forward, let us remember the wise words of Tata Nelson Mandela, who says, open quote, "It always seems impossible until it's done," close quote. Let us do the impossible. Let us make a difference. Let us devolve the power to manage and operate our rail transport to the city of Cape Town. And let us inspire hope. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable America. I now see the Honourable Christians.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the ACDP welcomes the provincial budget tabled by Minister Wenger on the 14th of March 2023. As we heard, Speaker, the medium-term expenditure framework, 1.1 billion rand, will be set aside for the energy security and the decrease on the reliance on Eskom. But, Speaker, we must also note that according to the Chief Executive Officer, the former Chief Executive Officer, Andre de Ruyter, said that 1 billion rand is stolen a month from Eskom. 1 billion rand. It's alleged that the ANC is involved in stealing this money. So that is, Speaker, concerning, and nothing is said about that. Secondly, Speaker, over the next 3 years, 39.82 billion has been allocated to boost economic growth, to create opportunities for the citizens. Now, Speaker, the question that I want to ask Minister Wenger is the following. What does it cost the province when we have a national shutdown, a failed national shutdown that happened on Monday? The Biz News said the shutdown fails to impress, leaves the party like the EFF weak and isolated. What does it cost this province?
Order.
Speaker, another question.
Order, members.
The minister spoke about economic growth, but there's uncertainty. There's uncertainty when it comes to economic growth, because the uncertainty hanging over this country and this province is a collision between the ANC and the EFF for next year.
Honourable Christians, please take your seat. Honourable members, we have allowed other honourable members an opportunity without severe interruption and disruption. Please allow the same for Honourable Christians. Honourable members, please. Honourable Christians, you may continue.
Thank you, Speaker. We have now seen what's happening in Tshwane. We saw what's happening in Joburg. So the EFF is a declining party and of no relevance. And they, as the ANC...
Honourable Christians, my apologies. Please take your seat. Honourable Side, is there a point of order?
No, Chair. Honourable Christians willing to take a question.
Honourable Christians, are you prepared to take a question?
He remembers my previous reply, so it's the same. The previous reply I had, it's the same as what I said.
Honourable Christians is not prepared to take a question for the record. Honourable Christians, you may continue.
Speaker, you see, people can say whatever they want. The EFF and the ANC is a threat to this economy. It's a threat to job growth. It's a threat to South Africa. And the voter will say that in 2024, where will they not get votes? Now, let me tell you further what Biz News said about the EFF. Let me further tell you what it says. It says that the EFF has taken...
Honourable Christians, please take your seat. Can I please ask the
Sorry,
table
can the
staff to
honourable
just...
member please stick to the topic and not obsess about the EFF?
Honourable Kasim, I did not recognize you. Honourable Kasim, I'm addressing you. You had a point of order. What's your point of order? All right, that is not a point of order. Honourable members, can I please ask that you allow Honourable Christians, you might not like what the presentation is, but that is his right to present his presentation. Can I please ask that members respect one another? Honourable Christians, you may continue.
Thank you, Speaker. The importance of this is that, as I said previously, the EFF and the ANC, I don't think they love this country. I don't think they love the people, because you don't do actions of stealing, you don't do actions of shutdown. Now, this shutdown that they had, they say it's a huge success, but we know it's a huge failure.
Honourable Christian, your time has expired. Please conclude.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, please calm down. Please settle down, honourable members. Members, before I recognize the next speaker, can you please settle down? I now see Honourable Murray, Minister Murray.
Speaker, the Department of Culture Affairs and Sport recognizes the need to put preventative programs in place to ensure that we can stem the rising tide of youth disillusionment and address the issue of youth unemployment. We want to ensure that we are a province that prioritizes the well-being of all who live here, and especially our youth, as the youth is the hope of our future. We have seen that our youth are feeling a sense of hopelessness due to unemployment and challenging social circumstances. We must take an approach of addressing the root of the problem, rather than trying to deal with the effects later down the line. We believe in taking a proactive approach which will enable us to reach out to our youth and offer them renewed hope before they lose their way due to the various temptations of fast money and status. To this end, the Western Cape Government is working together on a number of youth projects which aim to bring hope with a sense of urgency to our youth. The Western Cape Government, through Provincial Treasury and the Youth Forum, has negotiated a partnership with YES to provide a second year of funding for stipends for youth on Western Cape Government youth programs, Year Beyond, Chrysalis, Pay and Work and Skills, for those youth who are not able to move into the economy within the 6 to 12-month programs offered by the Western Cape Government. This would mean that rather than short ad hoc programs, the Western Cape Government will develop a pipeline to offer unemployment youth with meaningful work experience, including mentoring and development of soft skills for at least 6 months to 2 years. This will offer them the opportunity to build their CVs, gain important knowledge and skills, and assist them to become economically active adults. Our Year Beyond program is constantly growing, and over the past year we have offered work experience opportunities to approximately 3,000 unemployment youth. We have partnered with other government departments, NGOs and private partners to offer a whole of society approach. And we aim to increase the number of youth who receive work experience opportunities to 4,000 in a new financial year. In 2022, the Year Beyond program worked with 53 partners of 354 sites across the province. The Year Beyond program is also unique in that it gives back to communities. The youth on the program are placed within communities where they are then able to bring help to learners, educators and government institutions such as libraries and museums. This ensures a two-way flow where youth are given work experience opportunities and they can throw their experience and their skills back into the community. Speaker, funding to the amount of 2 million was received for the new financial year to unlock learners' creativity. This program is part of the Mzansi Golden Economy Strategy, which aims to create sustainable jobs and develop the arts, culture and heritage sector. 25 artists will be appointed to work with classroom teachers to teach art and culture in 3 districts: Cape Winelands, Central Karoo and West Coast. We believe that hope and imagination go hand in hand, and when we empower youth to dream big, we will see that they will reach success. Our department offers youth who are interested in the arts and culture spheres the opportunity to gain more experience in the fields of script writing and producing pieces for the stage. We want to ensure that we can give our young people exposure to world-class stages and that they will be inspired to follow their dreams and pursue careers in the arts. We continue to offer work experience opportunities to youth through the EPWP program, with the majority of EPWP interns placed at our museums and libraries to ensure that they can get a holistic working experience. These interns gain valuable work experience that they can serve as a stepping stone to a next career opportunity. We have seen the impact of both sport and arts and culture in fostering well-being. Our MOT and after-school structures offer children the first opportunity to participate in sport and to hone their talents. In 2022, Team Western Cape reached historic first place finishes in both the Winter and Summer Games. This shows the level of talent we have in the province, as well as the hunger of our youth to be involved in sporting activities. Our after-school activities offer our young people the chance to take part in dancing, creative arts, music, and other arts and culture activities. Our youth who have come through this program continue to perform on world platforms. Our aim is to ensure that every young person can find the activity that they are passionate about and have the opportunity to grow their talents in that chosen path. There is a clear link between living active, healthy lifestyles and maintaining mental well-being. 2023 has been a year of hosting major sporting and cultural events in the Western Cape. These major events bring an economic boost through overseas investment and touring spectators, athletes and other participants. They bring job-creating opportunities, especially for our youth. These events offer opportunities for connections, for people to engage positively and to encourage healthy and active lifestyles. The successful hosting of the T20 Women's Cricket World Cup served as a wonderful opportunity to inspire our young aspiring female athletes pursue their athletic dreams. Speaker, it is clear that we must prioritize the well-being of our youth, especially as we look at addressing social ills and unemployment. We must look at the source of the problem and put preventative measures in place to ensure that we do not get overwhelmed with trying to control the problem. With our approach to youth in the province, we believe that we are taking important steps to address the pertinent issues and to help our youth rediscover their hope and joy. The rapper Henry J.M. Nowen said, and I quote, "Joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day," unquote. Therefore, when we foster an enabling environment of holistic well-being and hope for all, we can help every person to reach their full potential and to choose joy every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister Murray. I now see the Honourable Nkondlo.
Nkosi Somlomo, budgets are about choices, but they are also about human rights. The ANC wishes to decline support for this appropriation bill today because budgets are about human rights, and we do not believe that this budget presented by this DA administration keeps in mind the human rights of the poor, people who remain predominantly colored, Africans and Indians in this province when they were drafted. This budget simply repeats what it did last year and the year before that. The figures may have changed, but the facts have not. If we accept that budgets represent what a government chooses to do or not choose, there is no urgency in this budget to address the chronic challenges faced by our people, challenges which undermine their human rights. It is this DA government that often wants to claim the Khayelitsha District Hospital and the Mitchells Plain Hospital as their achievements, even though these were conceptualized under the ANC governance in this province. Yet this budget makes no provision to address the 130% occupancy rate at Khayelitsha District or the 150 million that they so desperately need to function. And this is the choice of this DA government. Mitchells Plain Hospital is at 120% capacity. At the same time, this provincial government under the DA has been consistently failing to build enough houses. In the last decade, 2012 to 2022, under the DA rule, there has been a 52.7% drop in the number of houses built and a 40% decrease in the number of sites serviced. The DA is building half the houses today than they were building 10 years ago. This is the budget of the DA and the choice that the DA is making. According to this provincial government's own payroll, the number of houses built in 2021-22 met only 1% of the registered housing demand. Yet, if the DA is not upholding and ensuring our people's human rights through the correct appropriations, then they are also rubbing salt into the wounds of non-service delivery by returning vast sums to the Provincial Revenue Fund. Our estimates are that in the last financial year alone, over 77.5 million was returned to the Provincial Revenue Fund. The Children's Commissioners had to lose out on nearly 5 million. 40 million surrendered to PRF from Department of the Premier because of a service provider not being ready to upgrade the broadband. 14 million surrendered back to the PRF because of capital funding reallocation. Over 3 million surrendered back to the PRF because the Department of Local Government could not make the necessary contract appointments. The reality is that the DA, and especially where they govern here in the Western Cape, has no plan for jobs and no plan to grow the economy. As we heard in the budget speech, the so-called growth for jobs plan is still to be finalized as the DA is exiting this administration. 14 years into DA rule and 4 years into this administration's term of office. Consistently, the ANC has said in this House, look at the township economy, learn from Gauteng and allow those stakeholders in the township economy to tell you, as the provincial government, what they need. Do not be patronizing when dealing with the township economy. Do not think you can prescribe to the township economy what they must do. That's exactly what happened to your Pick and Pay Spaza Shop project. It went bust because this government, though they knew the answers to the township economy and could tell people how to run them. Let us start with the most obvious industry in the township economy, the taxis. Taxis provide 84% of public transport in this province. This budget completely ignores the industry. Instead, we are told that the province will continue to work with Golden Arrow, which provide transport services to 220,000 passengers per day. According to the former MEC for transport in this province, 220,000 is only 13% of passengers using public transport. The Premier, and it was repeated by the MEC in her budget speech, insists that this provincial government is data-driven. Yet it is prepared to work with and subsidize a service provider that only provides 13% of the public transport needs of this province. And if this wasn't madness on its own, it then insists on ignoring that taxi industry, which supplies 84% of public transport to commuters on a daily basis. Another important cog in the wheel of the township economy is infrastructure in our townships. Business hubs in our townships have not been maintained or invested in. Instead, we are told of containers as the solution to infrastructure for entrepreneurs in townships. As early as 2001, former President Thabo Mbeki launched the Urban Renewal Plan. The program sought to address infrastructure deficiencies and declining economies characterized by poverty and neglect. We remember then that Mitchell's Plain and Khayelitsha were two of the sites of the rollout of this project. Sadly, when the DA came into power in the city in 2006, in the province in 2009, resources were then redirected to wealthier areas. We still await, yet not a single item raised under infrastructure by the MEC in her budget spoke to improving infrastructure for the sake of doing business. She allocated funds for infrastructure in transport, assuming for the Golden Arrow in my city and Go George bodies. She allocated funds for infrastructure in housing, which will probably not be spent given the consistent decline in delivery of houses over the last decade, and also the hands of the likes of their own DA deployee MMC, a boy whose hand is in the cookie jar. Funds for infrastructure in education, which is mainly being supported by funds from the national government. 3.86 billion for infrastructure of clinics, hospitals and challenges. and an allocation of infrastructure for basic services, but nothing for infrastructure in townships to stimulate and promote the local economy, nothing for local economic development, yet this is the business model of the DA. Our people must keep going to the malls, must keep going to the conglomerates such as Pick n Pay and ShopRite, who continue to put thousands of SMMEs out of businesses. A base for the DA is Mitchell's Plain. The DA must tell the people of Mitchell's Plain, and especially the SMMEs, how much it has invested in the town center in the last 10 years. Today, the town center is a shell of its former hub of economic activity. Today, buildings are abandoned in the town center. What has the DA done to revitalize the economy of Mitchell's Plain, other than the show that this premier did to go and put the sauna in Mitchell's Plain? What exactly are the significant changes that have been done in Mitchell's Plain? While the funds for alternative energy supplies to SMMEs must be welcome, that's where the support seems to stop. Speaker, this DA provincial government, especially the Premier and MEC for Finance, must stop with sloganeering, smokes and screens. Stop the spin and provide substance. We cannot support a budget which is simply not radical. We cannot be comfortable with the status quo, and this budget simply reinforces the status quo of a white elite and also black majority that must remain poor. And therefore, as the ANC, we do not support this budget. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Nkondlo. I now see Minister Mbombo. Minister.
Thank you, Speaker.
Mister, just give me 1 second so the table staff can make sure that we get your time right. Okay, you can go.
Thank you, Speaker. In the early 16th century, the Abbey Church of St. Peter in Westminster was absorbed into the Diocese of London when the Diocese of Westminster was dissolved. A few years later, many of the assets once belonging to the Diocese of Westminster were later expropriated in order to fund the repairs needing to take place at St. Paul's Cathedral. While this event may seem irrelevant and from a distant era, it is claimed to have given rise to a common and well-known proverb, which we still use to this day, quote, to rob Peter to pay Paul. This saying couldn't be more relevant to represent what is happening to healthcare funding in the Western Cape. However, this robbing is not due to our provincial government, Mama Nkondlo. No, this lies solely on the doorsteps of the national government. The ANC governments, and throughout national and provincial, we have seen the chowing of the taxpayers' money, the stealing of the money for which people have worked long hours for. This is an obvious fact that has happened for years, and one which intensified during the national disaster as a result of pandemic. The PPE money that was stolen, where you find that healthcare workers ended up being exposed to infection. And now, the feasting has caught up.
Minister, please take a seat. Honourable members, can I please ask that you allow the Minister to do a presentation? I am, Honourable Chief Whip, I am mindful that this is a political debate, but please allow the Honourable Chief Whip, I'm on the floor. Can I please ask that you allow the members on the floor who are speaking the opportunity to make their presentations? Honourable Minister.
And now the feasting has caught up. A combination of a shrinking economy, increased sovereign debt, and widespread unemployment has led to the national government, which is under the ANC, to rob the Peter, which is us, in order to pay Paul in terms of what is happening across. And health is getting to short end of the stick. Honourable Speaker, for the first time, the Western Cape now will receive a decreased allocation in its equitable share and conditional grants. First time, When considering the impacts this on cost of employment, goods and services and transfers, the Department of Health and Wellness faces a budget shortfall of 1.5 billion. 1 year, 1.5 billion in this budget here that we are not getting. While this amount is only around 5% of the department's budget for the next financial year, it's a lot of money. Probably, Speaker, let me put this shortfall into perspective so that one can understand. The 1,694 posts is about 916 million for the COE. With the 1.5 billion, it means that we have to let go of 1,694 posts. With a cut of a 1.5 billion, Speaker, it means that, which Mam Nkondlo has already referred to these hospitals, it's a combined budget of 1 year of Mitchell's Plain Hospital, of the Kalbrima Hospital, of the Khayelitsha Hospital, meaning that 1.5, those 3 hospitals needs to be closed, if you look at that. Honourable Speaker, it will mean the termination, it will mean the...
Order. Members, there's a member on the floor.
It will mean, Honourable Speaker, the termination of the conversion of the Brackengate and Sonstral hospitals to transitional care hospital, which is also part of the service redesign to shift from the inpatient care to more ambulatory and transitional care. It will mean that we have to let go. Although there are 5 grants, with the 2 grants, National Tertiary Service Grant and Human Resource Grant, that has been decreased. It will mean that the training components, which will have a significant impact on the service delivery, especially to the specialist services and the registrar training that is happening at Groteskir and also in Tygerberg Central Hospital. The less money were allocated from the national government, which is the taxpayers' money, it's not even their money, the less we are able to realize of the principles of the universal coverage, where the country has to go to. Even though our province has had to dip into its reserves to partially pay for this deficit by allocating, again, 1.5 billion shortage that we're getting. Guess what? The province has to rob Peter from other departments and get the reserve to pay us 1 billion. So the province has given us 1 billion, which is more than 400%. It's 4 times of the amount that they normally give us. If you look in terms of the previous year, amount was it? So the province has tried to save us from that billion, from the 1 billion shortages. It means that at least we could be able to do other things. We'll continue to push forward with our community-based primary health focus, whilst also ensuring that our current services and infrastructure is able to meet the demand of our communities, given the socio-economic climate. We have a population, Speaker, of about 7.2 million. I think we're the 3rd populous province, where we have got 75% that are uninsured. Because it's not when they talk about the rich, and so even those who are rich, if you go to the outside the metro, in the Matsikama area of Beaufort West, you don't get private hospitals. Even them, they used to use also our facilities. In fulfilling its constitutional mandate to progressively realize the right to healthcare, this department, Speaker, is going to have to do more with much less, so that our 571 service points, which is the 448 primary healthcare service points, 52 hospitals, 49 EMS stations, is be able to serve the residents. And it is non-negotiable. No matter how the incompetence of the national government and the stealing of the monies that are happening there and the effects of its government has on our country, we dare not to fail. The Western Cape is the only hope for South Africa and must go above and beyond to succeed, so that our country succeeds, no matter how much Peter is robbed for Paul. But we have to dollar whatever we must. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Minister Mbombu. I now see Honourable Allen, Minister Allen.
Thank you so much, Speaker, Honourable Premier, Honourable Cabinet members, members of this House, the Leader of the Opposition. Less than 14 days ago, the Honourable Minister of Finance, Mireille Wenger, clearly stated that the Western Cape's budget is one of action and hope And I do want to thank the ACDP for their support in that particular regard. This is not, as we have continuously demonstrated, we are not paying lip service, but actually delivering, and this is seen in our action. I have noted that the leader of the opposition quoted the president, and we have seen consistently that particular narrative, which is merely lip service. We are wanting to ensure that it leads to action. It's lip service from the ANC side for a number of years.
Minister, please speak. Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister Allen. Honourable Minister Allen. Please speak to the chair and not to the members across the floor.
Thank you. The leader of the opposition did say that I've been missing in action, Speaker, so I just wanted him to make sure that he sees me, or maybe he's referring to a different Reagan, Allen. But I am in the House. I take your comments seriously. Via you, Speaker, to the leader of the opposition, I take his comments seriously, and I have noted further comments from his speech. The national government's inability to protect our residents is well documented, and there are various examples. Let me start. There's no desire to support the dedicated men and women in blue in this particular province. The majority of our officers in this province are eager to do their best, yet around every corner you have hats and bats making it merely impossible for them to be effective. Through you, Speaker, I also want to thank the EFF. They have provided a subtle support for our call for devolution, because the EFF clearly stated in this House that our budget did not allocate additional police officers. So I do interpret that the same like the ANC's comments previously, that the call for devolution, for policing powers to be closer to the people, is resonating not only on this side of the aisle, but amongst members of this particular House. So Speaker, if there had been any appetite to effectively support the officers, they too would have been able to diligently do their work at the station level, and that is exactly what we have been advocating for. I don't need to rehash this, but let me state again, we have a police to population ratio of 1 officer for every 1,016 residents in the area of Behal, of Clutersville. That particular station in Stellenbosch has over 1,242 residents, and only 1 particular officer servicing that amount. The Makasa station in Khayelitsha would by now have been constructed and operational should this particular Western Cape government have had operational powers over the South African Police Service. Judges would not have findings of gangsters colluding with both senior and junior SAPS members. The Equality Court would not have an adverse finding against SAPS management that is discriminating against poor and black people. And so we could go on making numerous examples. Thinking about this actually makes me quite sick, because it's a complete disgrace, and this ANC-led national government has blood of all the innocent victims on their hands. I can just imagine if the foreign currency that was founded in a couch of a particular person whose words were echoed in this House and quoted in this House, if that particular quote on Human Rights Day led to action, we would have actually seen a focus from the ANC that will ultimately lead to more boots on the ground. So we would want the ANC to focus. So through you, thank you to Member Maran, Speaker, for his call to the ANC to focus. But this means that over the MTF, 105 billion rand is allocated to continue the law enforcement advancement program. We will further, like the Minister have indicated, 2.26 billion rand over the MTF is allocated to ensure that our provincial policing functions have the funding they need to be effective, Speaker, to work with and to build up community-based safety partnerships and to continue our critical oversight over the South African Police Service. Speaker, I've said it in this House that our department don't want a free pass. Even in the current legal framework, we would want our oversight to lead to better service delivery, because oversight has to lead to better service to better service delivery, as this is part of the reason why we will continue to hold SAPS accountable. Our neighborhood watches, our CPFs play a critical role in fighting crime. We have seen even the EFF speakers' remarks with regards to the shutdown. I want to thank the EFF's members, all 600 of them that marched peacefully as well. So I want to thank them for their nature, because we would never want to stifle democracy and the freedom of any person to protest and to walk our streets. But like we have said, as long as they stick to the law. So I want to thank the 600 EFF members. We will also continue to support our districts, because we have seen the value that districts offer, and that is a 36.5 million rand of our funding has gone in that regard. So as I conclude, I would like our residents to know that we have their best interests at heart, and unlike the ANC and some of their partners and everyone else that have forsaken them, we will not do so. We will continue to hold SAPS accountable, strengthen their hand. The only province that has a dedicated law enforcement component via a payment transfer agreement, because we have stepped up. We have stepped up seeing the need. We are 20 years behind in terms of our resources to SAP stations. We ultimately need 90,000 members at the station level for the South African Police Service, and we are fighting for them. Through you, Speaker, you have not stopped me yet, so I will continue so that the leader of the opposition can also see that I am present, that through you to...
Your time has now expired, Honourable Minister. Please conclude.
Has not expired. Thank you. I also appreciate the comments made by the Honourable August. Thank you so much
Honourable
for that particular
Minister,
input
please
as well.
take your seat. Your time has expired. Thank you very much.
We will continue. Thank you for the focus, Member Mara.
Honourable members, please settle down. We are nearing the end of this debate. So can I please ask your cooperation for the last 3 speakers on the speakers list? Honourable Kama, I now see you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. When Member Fry spoke about hope, I thought it's very relevant and important that I greet you this morning with the newfound, renewed hope from the people of Berde, who have made their voice heard in the past week and rejected the DA. And Honourable Speaker, I want to thank the ANC members who have participated in this debate. I also want to thank the Good and the EFF, because time is a luxury that we do not have. Allow me not to waste time on Member Christians. Speaker, Nelson Mandela is often abused in this House by the DA. It is the very same Nelson Mandela who said, and I quote, that never and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. And it is a reality, Speaker, in the Western Cape that we continue to observe and experience systematic oppression of the poor. While lip service is exactly as Good is saying, is paid to this integrated approach, evidence-based approach, the poor and all of that, but in reality, this budget continues to remind us, that the people who are poor in this province will continue to be oppressed systematically by the DA. Speaker, there should be little doubt, and we concur with what Member Kondlo was saying, that budgets are about choices, but they are also about human rights. And as Speaker, there should be little doubt that high levels of inequality leads to high levels of crime. This budget does nothing to address the high levels of inequality. Inequality in service delivery, inequality in education, inequality in healthcare, inequality in income. The manner in which Honourable MEC Wenger will secure the future of her child is by presenting a budget that will secure the future of Thandi. Thandi lives in a shack with 6 others. No, it's not because her mother could not control herself, but Thandi's 2 sisters and the mother herself are actually living with their grandparents. Thandi's father, like so many other fathers on the Cape Flats, is missing. When Thandi walks out of her shack, she walks into the doorway of a shibin, which neighbors her grandparents' shack. Thandi's mother is unemployed. Their only income is the pension of her parents and the child grant. And Thandi's mother uses that little money to supplement the tuck shop she runs in order to make a bit more money. At night, Thandi has to walk 500 meters in the dark to a communal toilet to relieve herself. She and her sisters are often confronted by the drunkards emerging from the shibin next door, which keeps them awake all night. The neighbors run the shibin as a form of income. The patrons drink themselves to because they are scared people who have never had a social worker speak to them when they were at school. Thandi too will be scared one day if she's not scared already. Speaker, the problem with this budget is that the MEC is not thinking about Thandi when she drafts and presents it. The MEC is thinking about her son. And that's the problem. Because the lived reality of the MEC's son, who is a white boy, and the lived reality of Thandi are vast. If only the MEC had Thandi in mind.
Order, members. Members, order. Honorable Kama, please take your seat. Members, there's a member on the floor. Please allow the minister. Is that a point of order?
Yes, it's a point of order.
What's the point of order?
Honorable Speaker, when all members of this House stood here and undertook the oath of office, they have committed themselves to the principle of non-racialism. The color
Order,
of the
members.
Child, the color of the child
Order.
of the minister should not be a matter of subject of discussion in this House. I find it offensive, I find it racist, and I will protect that child as it is my duty to protect all children. And I want him to withdraw the color of the child. That child cannot be a subject
members.
in this House.
Who acquired now
Honorable members.
I object to the racism because we took our oath of office.
Thank you. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable Minister, that is not a point of order, but I'm going to look at Hansard and the context of how that speech was delivered. Honorable Maran, there's a member on the floor. Honorable Chief Whip, Honorable Nkondlo and Honorable Maran, the Chief Whip is on the floor. Honorable Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I address you?
Yes, you may. Honorable Maran, the Chief Whip of the opposition is on the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I find it difficult to understand why you would allow the MEC to make a frivolous point of order at this point in juncture. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable members, I have ruled, and so I'm not going to allow further discussion on that point of order. I'm now going to allow the Honorable Kama to continue.
Thank you, Speaker. We are a country, Speaker, that is a very painful past of people that were discriminated according to their race, and it then affected their status in the economy, and that's the reality. And we make this point again, Speaker, that the problem with this budget is that the MEC is not thinking about Thandi when she drafts and presents it. The MEC is thinking about her son, and she said that. And that's the problem. Because the lived reality of MEC's son, a white boy, and the lived reality of Thandi are vast. If only the MEC had Thandi in mind when she drafts her budget and her budget speeches. If only the MEC realized that her son's future is only secured when Tandi's or Leila's future, as well as the future of those drunkards
Please,
emerging
Honourable,
from the
Honourable
are
Member,
secured.
please take your seat. Honourable Minister Wenger, is that a point of order?
Yes, I would kindly ask that the member refrains from these grotesque and reprehensible remarks. He's making aspersions on my character by saying that I don't understand the lived reality of children in this province, and I take great offense to that. And the fact that I used a metaphor for my child and he doesn't understand what a metaphor is, I will not stand that he will now come and use my son in this debate. It is unacceptable.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Kama, can I please ask that you please note and respect the decorum and integrity of all honourable members of the House in the remainder of your speech. Honourable Said, is that a new point of order?
Chair, this is unacceptable. Honourable Kama did not cast any aspersions on anybody's character, Chair. And I don't think an inference must be made in that regard. He's speaking and I've not heard him insulting anybody.
All right, Honourable Said, I addressed that. So I'm just cautioning all members going forward. Please note that we are all honourable members in this House. Can you please respect one another accordingly? And can I please ask that you address the topic at hand and that it doesn't become personal?
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Speaker. The topic at hand is the budget, and I'm speaking to it. And reality is that is prioritizing a certain sector of society. And that's the thinking of the MEC. If only the MEC realized that her son's future is only secured when Tandi's or Leila's future, as well as the futures of those drunkards emerging from the shebeens, are secured. We do not wish to weaponize Tandi's lived experience. We do not wish to weaponize the lives of those men coming from the shebeens. Even though the MEC weaponized her son in a speech, we do firmly believe that our province and city must do more.
Point of order.
This budget fails to
Honourable
address
Kama,
the needs
please take
of
your
Thandi.
seat. Honourable Minister Wenger, is that a point of order?
It is. The member just said that I weaponized my son. That is unparliamentary. It is casting aspersions on my character. I most certainly did not, and that must be withdrawn.
Thank you, Honourable Minister, for that. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip, please take your seat. Honourable Kama, can I please refer you to Rule 59? Can I please ask that you don't continuously impute improper, whatever your view is, on the member of this House? And the reality is that we must please, colleagues, can I please ask that you continue with your speech without, we are all honourable members here. Honourable Kama, I'm addressing you. Please do not get into a dialogue. Please continue.
This budget fails to address the needs of Thandi. What about Thandi's human rights? When the MEC bragged, and it's in the speech, I'm not going to run away, she should have not included it in the speech. When the MEC bragged about her son's future, well-known and respected journalist Shakira published a story headlined, and I quote, 5-year-old Manning-Beck boy recovering well after gunshot in the head. Devonte was shot and critically wounded in the head across from the school at Saint Road and Thomas Avenue, where he had been playing on February 5 at around 10 a.m. These are people's lived realities. The ANC wishes Devonte a speedy recovery, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family, especially the parents. But we have to ask, Honourable Speaker, through you, and say, where is the walking pass that was introduced by then Mayor Plato? People from Elsis River are making calls even now, even the CPF, that we want the walking pass back because there is violence at schools in the morning. And this program was working, but it was just stopped because the thinking of the government of this province and the MEC is not about the lived realities of the poor. It's not about TAN. One wise man once said, and I quote, "In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act." Earlier, we have heard the MEC misleading this House and the province about her government's investment to crime. The people of Manenberg, Hanover Park, Krafontein, Delft, and other gang-infested communities must know that this government has reduced even what they brag about every day, which is the LEAP. They've reduced the budget from 400 million to 350 million for this financial year. This is a fact. In the time when crime, especially violent crimes, are on their rise, the TA government has responded by reducing the budget. Speaker, I heard through you, Member Sileku, lamenting on extortion syndicate in the province. We may forgive him because he's new. We who have been here since the start of this administration know that the extortion syndicate in the province was started, supported, and sustained by the DA government. It is this DA that is giving lucrative contracts to gangsters. And the MEC comes here in this house and say, no, but they applied, they went through the process and all that. But the reality is that the society knows that these people are gangsters and you are giving them deals. And what are you promoting or communicating to the society? That's a lived reality. Member Fry was bragging through you, Speaker, about the sterling work done by the provincial government through the Center for Innovation. While we acknowledge the importance of this, we must get the basics right. The people of Nyanga, Kaile, Chukukule, to Mitchell's Plain don't have access to Wi-Fi hotspots. In order to access it, they have to stand in front of schools with their gadgets and thereby exposing themselves to risk of getting attacked by local criminals. It should also be known that many libraries in the rural areas do not have access to internet. And when will this be addressed? We have to ask. Honorable Speaker, Member Fry also mentioned the investment towards combating GBV and femicide.
Order.
This government is not serious about addressing the scourge of GBV and femicide.
Order.
A serious government cannot invest only 60
Honorable
million
Kama,
in
please note your time has expired. Can you please conclude?
As I conclude, Speaker.
Honorable Maran, Honorable Kama is trying to conclude. Honorable Premier.
As I conclude, Speaker, what is the challenge that we're dealing with here? We're dealing with a premier that never left the position of being a premier candidate since 2019. All he does is to campaign.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kama. Your time has now expired. Thank you, Honorable Kama. Please take your seat. And Honorable Kama, please take your seat. Honorable members, when I address you, I mean, this complete disregard, you might not respect me, but can you please respect the chair? Can I please ask that you settle down and that you allow the members an opportunity, like each one of you that was on the speaker's list was allowed an opportunity. We are all honorable members. Can we please act honorably as the citizens of this province watches us? I now see the Deputy Chief Whip of the Majority Party, Honorable Baartman.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to start by saying that sometimes you must learn to love what is good for you. Sometimes we don't always like eating our vegetables, but you need to eat them because they are healthy for you. And similarly, like members of the Democratic Alliance said today, sometimes you must leave that boyfriend or you must leave that girlfriend that you are in a toxic relationship with. To the Western Cape residents, the South African Reserve Bank estimated that rolling blackouts of about 6 to 12 hours a day, or stage 3 and
Order,
stage 6.
members. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip, please continue.
The South African Reserve Bank has estimated that the rolling blackouts of about 6 to 12 hours a day, or stage 3 and stage 6 outages, will trim between 204 million and 899 million rand from the national economy daily in 2023. PricewaterhouseCoopers also estimated that the rolling blackouts eliminated 5 percentage points of South Africa's GDP in 2022. And it was revealed in the latest quarterly labour force survey that 333,000 jobs were created in the Western Cape in the past year, with 167,000 new jobs in the last quarter alone. Further, it was also revealed that the Western Cape still has the lowest expanded unemployment rate in the country at 26.8%, which is 2.7 percentage points decrease and a margin of 12.6 percentage points better than Gauteng, the next place province. We were told that we should learn from Gauteng, but Speaker, I think Gauteng should learn from us. In page 6 of the overview of the book of the budget today, the Gini coefficient is there in the book. The South Africa Gini coefficient is 0.68. The province after that is KZN at 0.67. The province after that is Gauteng at 0.63. The Gini coefficient in the Western Cape is better than the Gauteng one and the KZN one at 0.6. Speaker, during these dire times, the Western Cape provincial government must provide hope to its people. And that is exactly what this budget aims to do. And I just want to speak on human rights, because there are actually sections in the national constitution dealing with human rights. And the first one stems from section 1B of the constitution, dealing with non-racialism and non-sexism, a constitution which bounds this house as well as the Western Cape Constitution. Further, in section 28 of the constitution, which is also binding on this provincial parliament, in section 1, subsection D, it says every child has the right to be protected from maltreatment, neglect, or abuse, or degradation. Section 28(2) says a child's best interest of the paramount importance in every matter concerning the child. And this constitution is binding on this parliament as well, Speaker, whether they like it or not. Speaker, when we deal with human rights, we must ask ourselves about the implementation of section 27 of the constitution dealing with healthcare, food, water, and social security, because you cannot have proper healthcare if you do not have electricity supply. You cannot have potable water if you don't have generators making sure that the water and waste treatment continues pumping. What are people going to drink? How are you going to have emergency medical treatment in terms of section 27, subsection 3 of the Constitution, if your patients are not able to stay alive on the surgery table because of load shedding? This is why in the Western Cape, we have the Premier's Energy Council, which was established to identify and action solutions to the energy crisis, including directing and overseeing the implementation of the Western Cape government's urgent action to relieve both the immediate impacts of load shedding and its medium to long-term energy strategy. These outcomes inform the respective digicons, which ensures that we have consistent, consulted, and most up-to-date information about energy effectively and regularly communicated to the citizens, communities, and businesses within the Western Cape. And the Minister of Finance announced the 1.1 billion rand to be set aside over the MTEF to give effect to our energy response in the province of the short, the medium, and the long term. Speaker, leaders are readers. If you have not read the overview book on page 110, dealing with all 3 financial years of the MTEF and every single program within the energy respective plan, then that is your problem, not our problem. Do not make your problem our problem, because we will be spending 126.6 million on load shedding impact reduction. We'll be spending 25.9 million rand on green economy ecosystem support, 246 million on project preparation, 27 million rand on grid generation and financing planning, 58 million rand on capacity to implement, 114 million rand on operational matters, 501 billion rand on ensuring the establishment of the energy reserve. Because when we speak about human rights, you must speak about how you're going to implement those human rights for the people on the ground. The load shedding impact reduction will focus on demand side management programs, alternative energy support for SMMEs, and emergency load shedding packs. The green economy ecosystem will support the green economy ecosystem support in DDAT. The project preparation will focus on municipal pool buying, municipal IPP procurement, project preparation facilities, pilot renewable energy solutions in municipalities, specialist service providers exploring gas power and green hydrogen development. At the Saldanha Bay IDZ speaker, specifically regarding the green hydrogen development, there's already a strong market interest in developing green hydrogen in the area, and this project sees an MOU between the Northern Cape and the Western Cape governments collaborating on developing the West South African Development Community Green Hydrogen Corridor. Further, a major World Bank study regarding the green bunker fuels in Saldanha had been initiated by the National Climate Commission, and the IDZ also hosted its reindustrializing Saldanha Bay as part of the South African Green Hydrogen Summit, which was opened by both our Premier and the President of the Republic of South Africa. Speaker, further, Sasol and Salamito South Africa signed a joint development agreement to develop carbon capture technology to produce sustainable fuels and chemicals, as well as revitalizing the Salamito and operative steel plant in Saldanha Bay to produce and export green steel, because you must implement the sections in the Constitution in terms of human rights. Speaker, up to 5 Western Cape towns are set to come off grid due to the province's plan to end load shedding and diversify its energy supply. And this will be done through mobile, containerized PV battery units, which can tap between 1 megawatt and 400 megawatts into the power system and can be connected to municipal power generation networks. The city of Cape Town is busy procuring 200 megawatts of embedded renewable energy via IPPs. The city of Cape Town is also set to announce a tender of 500 megawatts of dispatchable power that will be available immediately for energy resilience. Speaker, in terms of solar PV, for example, there's already a collaborative project between Stellenbosch University, the Western Cape Education Department, and energy-efficient startup GreenX at the Cluttersville Primary School, where a solar PV system was installed, and it is saving them up to 20,000 Rand a year. It is a 7.5 kilowatt system. It reduces carbon emissions by almost 13 tons annually. And this is why, in education, we're identifying up to 100 schools in the province, especially with lower quintile and poorer schools, so that we can become more energy resilient. You have to have grid generation and financing planning, because if you cannot upgrade the grid, where's the energy going to go to? You need a municipal electricity master plan. You need an integrated development plan for the province. You need the capacity for core energy team, because you cannot do it if you don't have the technical skills. In terms of these projects, it will amount in totality to 509 million Rand, with an additional 500 million Rand set aside for energy reserves. And further, Speaker, the City of Cape Town is also working on policy shifts to allow households to be net generators of energy, not just businesses, households as well, and to sell this energy back to the city. They are working furiously in order to reduce even the special meters, so that households are able to afford putting energy back into the grid. In terms of the Department of Economic Development and Tourism also, the uptake of rooftop solar PV in the province has already provided more than 20 municipalities with support and advice around SSEG, wheeling, or utility scale energy matters. And in terms of this particular work, previously the rooftop PV system installations increased substantially by 147 megawatts of registered rooftop in the Western Cape in the first 2 quarters of 2022-2023. This is what it means when you implement the sections of the Constitution. This represents 2.4 billion Rand worth of investment in around 368 jobs. Further, also supporting businesses on advising them on how to reduce their water and energy in their respective businesses. Due to the impact of the energy crisis,
that is the end of your time. Please conclude.
This budget, Speaker, represents the next step in bringing services to our people, bridging the gap between the haves and have-nots, and building a brighter future.
Thank you very much. Please take your seat.
Support the budget. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honourable Bartman. I now see Honourable Minister Wenger.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thanks to the honourable members for the debate and contributions. Starting with response to Honourable Dugmore, he unfortunately didn't say much about the 23-24 budget, so there's not too much for me to respond to there. He did, however, in his final words mention hunger. And I'd like to assure the honourable member that we're acutely aware of the nutritional needs in particularly poor communities, which is why we're allocating over 190 million rand on school nutrition to over 405,000 learners. And we're doing this to ensure that learners across the province can have a nutritious and calorific meal. And despite the very steep rise in food inflation, those meals will be able to maintain their nutritional value. In addition, we're allocating 193.5 million rand to social development to provide food relief for those that need it the most in poor communities. In response to Honourable Kasim, she mentioned just in passing that the budget doesn't meet the needs of housing, jobs and schools. I found this a little bit of a confusing comment because the budget provides for exactly those needs. 7.7 billion rand is allocated for housing opportunities, 7.4 billion rand allocated for school infrastructure, classrooms, as well as infrastructure for children with special educational needs. For the rest, I thought I was perhaps sitting through the Vote 2 debate. But Speaker, that honourable member also referred to her party's failed shutdown, and I thought it was quite ironic that she spoke about people's rights when her party sought to deny the rights of others to practice and trade their profession freely. And of course, as Honourable Christian mentioned, the cost to the economy and the cost to struggling small businesses. And what was the EFF going to do with those tyres anyway? Perhaps the honourable member would like to come clean with us. Honourable August spoke about tangible solutions. And this is exactly the point, tangible solutions, and that's why we have developed a budget of action. The National Police are not keeping us safe, and that's why we've taken action, because safety is just too important. We are acting. What is the national government doing? Honourable Christians, I'd like to thank you for supporting the budget, and I hope that the House takes note of those damning figures that you quoted on Eskom losses. In response to Honourable Nkondlo, the rights of the poor are exactly what we have in mind with this budget and work very hard to fund. And this is what we choose to do. We choose to fund education, health, social services, safety, and energy. These are the things that this budget funds, and then some. And in particular on health, and perhaps the honourable member can talk to her national colleagues who've cut our provincial budget by 1.9 billion rand. And at the same time, underfunding healthcare grants, which are not keeping pace with inflation, and we're having to subsidise the difference. As Minister Mbombo noted, these cuts have severe pressures on budgets across the province. And I thank her for giving the House more insight into what these budget cuts actually mean. On infrastructure, Honourable Nkondlo will be pleased to know that we have a spatial lens on infrastructure, and I've already placed information in detail before this House recently on market infrastructure in townships. I'd also like to note that we're allocating 9 billion rand to mobility over the MTEF, and shows the importance that this government places on transport and commuters. Then finally, in response to Honourable Kama, I would just like to quote Socrates, who said, "When the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the loser." Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, that concludes the debate. That concludes the debate on the principle of the bill. Are there any objections to the approval of the principle of the bill? No objections. Is there an objection? Okay. Can I now put the question, those in favour of the question being adopted, please say yes. Yes. Those not in favour of the question being approved, please say no. No. I think the ayes have it. Question approved. The Secretary will read the bill.
Western Cape Appropriation Bill.
Thank you very much, honourable members. The House will deal with the separate votes on the 28th and 29th of March 2023. The Secretary will read the second order of the day.
Consideration of principles of the Western Cape Additional Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2022-23 financial year, B1 2023.
Thank you very much. I've been informed by the Chief Whip that the Programming Authority resolved that there would be no list of speakers and that parties who wish to do so will now be afforded an opportunity to make a declaration of the vote for a maximum of 3 minutes. I will now afford the political parties an opportunity to make a declaration if they so wish. I recognize the ANC. Okay, I'm going to agree to that. I'll now see the EFF.
Thank you, Speaker. The Economic Freedom Fighters is not convinced with the Western Cape's Additional Adjustment Appropriation Bill. An additional adjustment into the education budget is not enough to enable a functioning learning environment for learners in the Western Cape, specifically in the schools. There are not enough classrooms to accommodate learners in the province, which often results in an increasing volume of unplaced learners. More money must be channeled into the province's education system in order to have more classrooms and to eradicate makeshift temporary classrooms. It is also shocking that majority of the makeshift temporary classrooms are mostly found in township schools, whilst the same cannot be said to the case when it comes to most formal Model C schools based in Levy suburbs. The EFF calls for more and better budget allocations to the education department in order to make sure that there are more classrooms built with bricks and to enable a functioning learning environment. In terms of the local government, when it comes to local government, we have the Provincial Department of Local Government that fails to exercise proper oversight over municipalities under its watch. So we cannot allow more money to be channeled into dysfunctional municipalities, which cannot even account for misappropriation of funds. On the 25th of January 2022, the President of this country made public the final SIU report, which investigated the irregular expenditure of 53 million on the Straffontein site, which housed homeless people during COVID-19 in 2020. The report found that supply chain management process followed by the city in sourcing various resources and services requires irregular and should be set aside. To this day, there is no urgency or concern from the current city mayor in an effort to reclaim the funds concerned. There is also no appetite from the MEC, from local government exercising oversight.
Order, members.
Can you please protect me?
Order, members. There's a member on the floor. Honourable Kama.
There's also no appetite from the MEC, from local government exercising oversight over this municipality to get to the bottom of this matter. It is clear that under this DA-led government, thieves will act with impunity and there will be no action taken against them. EFF does not support these additional adjustments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kasim. Please, Honourable, is the ANC ready now? I see the ANC. Honourable Nkondlo.
The African National Congress in the province does not support the Additional Adjustment Appropriation Bill. The ANC welcomes the 115.462 million education infrastructure grant allocated towards providing maintenance of existing infrastructure and the building of new infrastructure for schools in the Western Cape province. Although these funds are a reallocation from two provinces where we feel the grant was very imperative, the Eastern Cape and Mpumalanga, this grant will provide great assistance in providing additional classrooms and attend to overcrowding of current available classrooms in the province. We hope that this grant will be a step in the right direction, a direction that leads to more children in schools instead of meandering the streets rather than unlocking their full potential due to placement failures. We look forward to seeing the path that the Western Cape government will take with this grant, whether they will build more brick and mortar classrooms or they will build shack classrooms. Speaker, the ANC also acknowledged the 88.815 million allocated towards the local government for the purchase and installation of backup energy supplies for municipalities in the province. We anticipate seeing the impact of this allocation towards the effects of load shedding. Load shedding has had a severe impact towards the economy and well-being of the country and the province in particular. Hopefully, the money set aside to mitigate this issue in the province will go towards exactly that. This province has been appropriating money for energy supply through the MER project and has not delivered, and yet are quick to blame the ANC when it comes to energy supply. Talk about people who live in a glass house but yet throw stones. We hope that among the identified municipalities, black communities will benefit from the stabilization of water supply, wastewater treatment, and sewage infrastructure. These communities were already facing inadequate water supply and sewage infrastructure without load shedding playing any role. We want to applaud the national government, but also acknowledge that it is important that the service delivery for black, colored, and Indian communities must be prioritized in this province. Speaker, the ANC at this point would like to thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Nkondlo. I see good. Honourable August? No declaration. Honourable Christians?
Thank you,
ACDP,
Speaker.
just for the record.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, when you get additional money and you say, I don't want it, I've got a problem with that. The money for education is for infrastructure. And if you do not support this bill, it means that you do not want the money. Now, there's other provinces that is not functioning, and because they do not spend their money, we're getting additional money. We need more money, yes. But other provinces that the ANC governs don't spend their money. So we welcome the appropriation budget, and the ACDP supports the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Christians. I now see the Democratic Alliance. Order, members.
Honourable
Order.
Speaker.
Honourable Nkondlo. Honourable Bartman, you may continue.
Honourable Speaker, the Western Cape Additional Adjustments Appropriation Bill appropriates 204 million rand from the current financial year for education and for the local government departments. And I do think there is a little bit confusion as to the two separate bills, because this particular bill deals with extra money we're getting, whereas the main budget in terms of education infrastructure has 3 billion rand allocated for education infrastructure. In this particular one, 115 million rand has been allocated for infrastructure development, and the Western Cape government received this funding due to the under expenditure on infrastructure development funds in other provinces, which was Eastern Cape and in Mpumalanga. They did not spend their money. In order to ensure that national money for education is spent.
Order, members. There's a member on the floor. Honourable Nkondlo and Honourable Premier, there's a member on the floor. Can I please ask that you allow the member to continue?
Speaker, in order to spend the national education money, these funds were directed to provinces such as the Western Cape and such as Gauteng in order to actually spend the money of the people of South Africa on education infrastructure. We have always believed that capable governments should be rewarded with incentives for their good governance instead of being punished for governing well. It is uncertain still why the Western Cape has the 5th biggest and the 5th lowest equitable share still in this country. Speaker, in this particular instance, we are being rewarded for building schools and spending our money well for building schools. And it is noteworthy that the ANC is voting against a national government department giving the Western Cape money to build schools. The second allocation appropriated from this particular budget is from our own provincial revenue fund for local government department of 89 million rand, which is appropriated for the purchase and installation of backup energy supplies within municipalities. And it aims to reduce the impact on load shedding. The implementation, I would like to implore the Minister of Finance and local government, not all municipalities in the
Honourable
Western Cape.
Minister Mania, please take your seat. Honourable Minister Mania and Honourable Nkondlo, you are drowning out the speaker. There's a speaker on the floor. Can I please ask that you take your conversation outside and allow the member on the floor to continue? Now, can you, honourable members, please. Honourable
Speaker,
Bartman, you can continue.
Thank you. Speaker, regarding the implementation of this money, I would like to ask the Minister of Finance and of Local Government in the province. Not every municipality in the Western Cape are able to brag with clean audits. So when we transfer these monies to the municipalities for the generators in order to keep the water running, in order to keep the wastewater running, please ask them to take a photo of their generators and send it to you with the description and the specifications alongside it with their respective payment invoices. Hulle moet vir julle die receipts kan wys. Let us ensure that the municipalities use every cent of the people's money in the best manner on the people of our province. Electricity provision is the responsibility of national government and Eskom, and their failure to do their job has meant that the Western Cape has no option but to take matters into our own hands and make provision for their failure through our own provincial funds. The DA supports this bill.
Thank you, Honourable Bartman. Honourable members, that concludes the declarations on the consideration of the principle of the bill. Are there any objections to the approval of the principle of the bill? No objections. Agreed to. The Secretary will read the bill.
Western Cape Additional Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2022-23 financial year.
Thank you very much. The Secretary will now read the third order of the day.
Consideration of votes and schedule. Western Cape Additional Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2022-23 financial year B1 2023.
Thank you very much. As we consider the votes, parties are entitled to make declarations for no longer than for 3 minutes per vote. I now put vote 5, education, the ANC, the EFF, good, ACDP, the DA. Okay. Are there any objections to vote 5? Are there any objections to vote 5? Okay, there is objections. I now put the question. Those in favor of the question or the vote being adopted, please say yes. Yes. Those not in favor of the question being adopted or approved, please say no. No. I think the ayes have it. The objections will be recorded. That concludes the decision on the vote. Honourable members, I now put vote 14, local government, the ANC, the EFF, good, the ACDP, the DA. Thank you very much. Are there any objections to vote 14? There is an objection. I now put the question. I put the question to the House. Those in favor of the question or the vote being adopted, please say yes. Yes. Those not in favor of the question being approved, please say no. No. For the record, I think the ayes have it and the objections will be recorded. Thank you, honourable members. That concludes the decision on the vote. I now put the schedule of the bill. Are there any objections to the schedule of the bill? There is an objection to the schedule of the bill. I now put the question. Those in favour of the schedule of the bill being adopted, please say yes. Yes. Those not in favour of the schedule of the bill being adopted, please say no. I think the ayes have it. The objections will be recorded. I now put, thank you, honourable members. I now put clauses 1 to 3 of the bill. Are there any objections to the clauses 1 to 3 of the bill being adopted? There is an objection to clauses 1 to 3 of the bill. I now put the question to the House. Those in favour of clauses 1 to 3 of the bill being adopted, please say yes. Yes. Those not in favour of clauses 1 to 3 of the bill, please say no. I think the ayes have it and the and the objections will be recorded. I now put the short title. Are there any objections to the short title being approved? There is an objection to the short title of the bill being approved. I now put, honourable members, please work with me. I now need to put the question. Those in favour of the short title of the bill being approved by this House, please say yes. Yes. Those not in favour of the short title of the bill being approved, please say no. No. I think the ayes have it, and the objections will be recorded as such. Honourable members, that the Secretary will now read the fourth order of the day.
Finalization of the Western Cape Additional Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2022-23 financial year B1 2023.
Thank you very much, Honourable Secretary. I now recognise the Honourable Minister of Finance, Honourable Minister Wenger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Western Cape Additional Adjustment Appropriation Bill B1 of 2023, including the clauses and short title, be finalised.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I see there is no list of speakers, and therefore I'm going to put the question. Are there any objections to the bill being finalised? There is an objection. I will now put the question to the House. Those in favour of the bill being finalised, please say yes. Yes. Those not in favour of the bill being finalised, please say no. I think the ayes have it, and the objections will be recorded as such. Honourable members, the Secretary will read the bill.
Appropriation Bill 2022-23 financial year.
Thank you very much, Honourable Secretary. The bill will be sent to the Premier for assent. Honourable members, that concludes the business for the House for the day. The House is adjourned. The Secretary will now end the meeting and all members will be exited from the sitting. The House is adjourned.